Wow. Now, I've also heard you have plans to go public. Can you tell me a bit about the process and what will happen with that and how it'll affect Glasshouse Technologies?
The process is very complex now, particularly since probably 2000. So when the internet bubble burst and when there was a big scandal around Enron, there became a tremendous amount of scrutiny around the public markets and companies going public and IPOs. And so a whole lot of restrictions and compliance and guidelines was put in. So I spent, unfortunately, a lot of my time with lawyers and accountants and bankers putting together the whole process of going public. So the way it works is when you decide you want to go public, you're essentially selling a part of your company to the public. Primarily that's sold to not individuals, but to large companies that then sell it to individuals. So you sell to Fidelity or you sell to Putnam Investments. And those are people who buy a portion of your stock. The money comes to the company. And then you go on a NASDAQ exchange or a New York Stock Exchange, and that's kind of how it runs. For a company like me, what will happen is we'll plan when the time is right, which is a combination of the public markets being friendly. So the current situation in Japan and the Middle East makes a fairly unfriendly market. That your numbers are in line and all the legal pieces are done. Then you go out in what you call a road show. So for 2 weeks, you go out and visit with people like the Fidelities and Putnams and other large companies and convince them that your stock is a good stock to buy and that you're a quality company. At the end of that 2 weeks, the underwriters or the bankers, so people you know like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley, will say, okay, we think there's this kind of demand for your stock. And they'll buy your stock, say at $10 a share. They'll turn around and sell it to everybody for $11 a share or $10.50 a share, right? The company gets $10 a share, so it's very important to price it correctly so the company's not leaving money on the table. And then a certain amount of your company will then be owned by the public. That's how the IPO works.
So on the roadshow, are there any concerns you have about trying to get your stocks out there and like letting people know about your company? Are you have any?
It's a very regimented and controlled process. Well, I'll do something like 10 to 12 meetings a day, plus then breakfast meetings and lunch meetings. By the way, I'll be giving the same presentation over and over again. So if you guys have seen Groundhog Day, that will be my life. It will be that way, something on the order of 1 to 2 cities a day, okay? And you end up going, we'll be doing 9 days in the US and probably 3 days in Europe to support it. So am I worried? I believe in my business. I believe in my company. Not everybody will say yes. Being an entrepreneur basically means that most people say no and you don't take it personally.